I mean, amazing to hear all that. You had a near-death experience. You had an aneurysm. You bled out inside of your body. Did you die?
I'm still working on that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Yes.
But that's one of the great mysteries: is how do we know we're here?
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, you're here, so I know that you're here. But I guess it begs a question of belief, of faith, of.
Well, I mean, this is the problem. After I came back from the hospital, I mean, I lost 10 units of blood.
Okay.
I came very, very close to dying. They barely saved me. And when I woke up in the ICU, I didn't know that I'd almost died. The nurse told me.
Yeah.
And when I came home, I was seized with this fear that I had died.
Right.
And that this was all a hallucination.
Yeah.
And that it was because I was reading about near-death experiences, and I thought maybe I did die, and this is just. And I asked my wife. I said, "Just tell me I'm really here."
Right.
And clearly, I was slowly going crazy, right?
Yeah,
But I said to my wife, "Just tell me I'm here. Like I'm really here. That I actually survived." And she said, "Of course you are, honey."
Right.
And I thought that's exactly the kind of thing a hallucination would say.
Right. Well, tell us what happened. I mean, you start the book with this amazing, scary story of you surfing and almost dying, which I'm kind of reading this going, Sebastian, you're almost dying a lot. But then tell us what happened with, when you're talking about losing so much blood. It was unrelated to to surfing, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, I surfed and I almost drowned in the winter, in January on Cape Cod, which was just stupid to be doing in the first place, right? But then I was a war reporter for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had very close calls. I was almost killed a number of times.
Yeah.
Which is different from the experience of dying, right? I mean, I had bullets hit close to my head, 3 inches away. Is that a lot or a little with a bullet? I don't know. Like, it was enough, right?
I've never, ever had to ask myself that question. And I don't want to. Yeah.
But then I stopped war reporting. I had a family. I had 2 little girls. I turned towards life, right? I gave all that up, the war reporting.
Yeah.
And then one day, in mid-sentence, I felt this pain shoot through my abdomen. And it was an aneurysm, a ballooning of one of my arteries, which is just like a structural defect, right? It ruptured.
Yeah.
It had been the aneurysm had been growing my entire life, and it chose that moment, June 16th, 4 years ago, around 6 p.m. to rupture. And I was losing a unit of blood every 10 or 15 minutes.
And how much units of blood can we lose?
You have about 10 or 12 units in you, and you can lose about 2/3 of it.
Okay.
Right, which I did.
Right.
So, but we were.
I'm not laughing at you dying. I'm laughing that so much of your. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
This is wild. Yeah.
And the problem was, we lived an hour away from a hospital.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm losing a unit every 10 or 15 minutes. You can do the math. I was basically a human hourglass.
Yeah.
And when I got to the ER, the doctors immediately knew, oh, this guy's dying. Yeah. And suddenly I saw this doctor above me with this huge needle.
Right.
And he said, do I have permission to stick this into your jugular?
Right.
And I was like, not really. I mean,
can I read the terms and conditions?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I had no idea I was dying.
Right.
And so I said to him, do you mean in case there's an emergency?
Right.
He was like, this is the emergency right now.
Yeah.
And
you talk about that in the book, and that actually gave me chills to envision it from your perspective, looking up, hearing the noises of a hospital, which are just so deliberately hospital-y, the noises, the faces, and to hear the doctor say, this is the emergency.
Yeah. And and so I said, yes, of course. So we started working on my neck with an ultrasound probe and the needle. And while he was doing that, suddenly, and I have to stop here and say, I've been an atheist my whole life.
Okay.
My dad was a physicist. He was an atheist. I'm a rationalist. I'm not mystic. In fact, I'm anti-mystic. I'm like anti-woo-woo, just the works, right? So just to get that, like,
that
on
being
paper.
said, here comes some woo-woo.
That's right. So all of a sudden, as he's working on my neck, I feel this immense black void appear beneath me, this black pit, and I'm getting pulled into it. I don't know I'm dying, but I know I don't want to go into the infinitely black pit.
Yeah.
Like, I have this sense that if you do that, you're not coming back, right? This sort of animal instinct. And I started panicking. And as I panicked, my dead father appeared above me and communicated to me, it's okay, don't fight it, I'll take care of you, you can come with me. And I was like, you're dead. I'm not going with you. Like, Dad, we have nothing to talk about, right? Like, we'll talk later, a lot later. And I said to the doctor, you got to hurry.
That's such a son thing to say.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Oh,
I didn't ask you to come over here.
Total authority complex. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I said to the doctor, you got to hurry. You're losing me right now. I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I remembered for a while.
So the believer in me wants to think your dad, who you talk about in this book, maybe wasn't always there for you emotionally, was this very rational person, was maybe... Spectrum, okay. Was crossing over to be there for you emotionally in this difficult time. The skeptic in me thinks you've lost all your blood and you're going mad. Are you there too?
I'm very sympathetic to both ways of thinking.
Right.
So this is what happened. They saved my life. I went home 5 days later.
There's such an unbelievable description of the doctors, and I've already had respect for trauma doctors, but what they know about the human body, what they're able to do in matters of seconds to save people's lives is tremendous.
It's incredible, and they did. So they saved me with a catheter. Right? And so what they do is they put a catheter into your femoral artery at your groin, and they can thread it up through your vasculature and wiggle it around and get to almost anywhere in your body, right? This was discovered by a guy named Forssmann, a German physician, a long time ago.
You talk about it in here.
He couldn't get permission to do this on a patient, so he did it to himself.
Yeah.
Threaded it all the way into his heart, and then he walked down the hall to the x-ray room and asked the technician to take a photograph of his chest to prove he'd been in his own heart with a catheter. Right. That was.
Imagine how good the kids will be today after all the video games.
Oh, yeah, totally. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I was on a fluoroscope for so long. It took them so long to do this that I was lying on this sort of square plate where it emits X-rays, basically, right? And I was on this thing for so long that when I got home, I had this square burn mark on my back from the plate. I had radiation burns on my back, and this perfect square. Of course, my wife didn't like that much, neither did I. And then I tried to make it better by saying, we can just call it Square Noble. And it didn't work.
Which is why you're a journalist and I'm a comedian. Let's talk about having this experience, touching death. How has it affected your life? I mean, does it give this more meaning? Should we all get close to death so we appreciate this tiny moment we have? Are these all the things you're grappling with?
No, okay. Don't do that.
Okay.
There are shortcuts, right? I mean,
psychedelics, ayahuasca.
Right. So, my eyes, I mean, I'm still an atheist, but what
I was going to ask you that.
I'm still an atheist. I don't believe in God.
Okay.
But my mind was sort of open to the possibility that there is some kind of post-death reality, maybe at the quantum level, and I'm sort of reaching into my father's field of physics, maybe at the quantum level, that we just don't understand how this all works. Like I say in my book, we might understand reality like a dog understands a television screen. Like there's no concept of the greater reality that's producing the image that the dog sees, that we see. So God and an afterlife are separate things. They don't need each other. You can have a God and no afterlife, an afterlife and no God, either or both. So I'm still an atheist. But what I would say is that the greatest, and I say this in my book, I don't go to church, but I believe that the greatest worship of what some people call God's creation, which is the world and life, and what atheists just call creation, the greatest worship of that is being fully engaged in your life, in the moments of your life, in all of its emotional reality. None of us know that this isn't our last day. No one in this room, no one on this earth knows this isn't their last day. So who do you want to be on your last day? Be that person on every day.
It's amazing to me that you survived an IED attack in Afghanistan. You're a war reporter, but you were back home on a normal day is when you kind of came to this realization.
Well, that's why I got so crazy afterwards, right? So I'd go to war zones and I had to deal with myself. Like, okay, you're rolling the dice, you're going to do this to get that, and whatever. It was a deal that I made, and I had a few close calls. And then I stopped doing that after my friend and colleague Tim Hetherington bled out in the back of a rebel pickup truck in Libya. I'm out, right? And I turned towards life. I had a family, it's an amazing family, 2 little girls. And I thought I was safe.
Right.
And what a helpful illusion.
Right.
And then one beautiful June afternoon, turns out the front lines can come to you. It's like owing the mafia money. Right. You can get a cabin in the woods. They will find you for their money, right? They will track you down, and that's what it felt like.
What will you do on the anniversary of this moment, or do you just kind of speed past it? You don't need to honor it because June's coming up. Is there something you'll do?
It's a day. It's a thoughtful day, and there's a number of days during the year where people very close to me have died, like Tim. They're thoughtful days, and mortality is terrifying. But if you don't let it be terrifying, it could make life miraculous.
Right.
And you can kind of choose. And if you're not sufficiently terrified, life isn't going to be sufficiently miraculous, and vice versa. And so that, to me, is how one lives one's life.
Quickly talk about some strangers that you didn't know helped save your life by something we all can do every day, which is provide blood.
Yeah. So I needed 10 units of blood. I lost 2/3 of my blood, right? I was 60/40 when I hit the ER.
Right.
And 10 anonymous donors gave a unit of blood that saved my life, right? So now I give blood as much as I can.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't even take an hour.
Yeah.
And there are very few opportunities where you can be part of something greater than yourself. In this modern society, the chance doesn't come up very much. Yeah. It only comes up in 3 contexts. You need to vote, right? You need to serve jury duty, and you need to give blood. If you do those 3 things, you're an awesome human being.
I would say one more. You have to buy... Okay. You have to buy Rudy Giuliani's coffee. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I very much appreciate it. In My Time of Dying is available